Hello and welcome to Whideo Reviews. My name is Whitaker Martin, and this is the first installment of Second Look, a series where I'll be reviewing movies that are either underrated, underseen, or misunderstood. And for this first installment, we're going back in time to April 14th, 1912, the last date the Titanic was sailing. A date that will be remembered as A Night to Remember. Released in 1958, A Night to Remember was an ambitious undertaking by the British film industry to present an accurate retelling of the sinking of the Titanic. Indeed, the film is so true to its name that you only have to wait 11 minutes to get to the date and just 32 minutes to get to the collision with the iceberg, meaning that for the next 70 minutes, it's all about the sinking. You get to see what the officers did, what the crew did, what the passengers did. No perspective is left unturned. The film switches points of view so often that, truth be told, there's no protagonist. I mean, Kenneth More gets top billing as Charles Lightoller and a final word of sorts in the end, but he's not in the majority of the film. And while the constant switching of perspectives does keep character development to a minimum, it does allow for a particular point of view, a portrait of a disaster. I presume this composite form of storytelling, while it did lead to good reviews from critics and audiences, also led to it not being a hit, especially when compared to the 1997 Titanic film. I don't think I need to recap the plot for you a whole lot. I mean, most of us know that there was an unsinkable ship called Titanic, but it sunk on its first voyage and there weren't enough lifeboats to save everybody. What A Night to Remember offers, though, are the extra details. Details so meticulously recreated that it feels like history is being replayed in front of our eyes. For example, take a look at this scene between the ship's architect, Thomas Andrews, and the captain, Edward Smith.
She should live another hour and a half. Yes, about that, I think.
There must be no panic.
No,
You'll be careful what you say to the passengers.
of course. How many people are there on board?
2,200 or more. And room in the boats for... how many?
1,200.
I don't think the Board of Trade Regulations visualized this situation.
Now, both men died, so we can't be certain what was said. However, most eyewitness accounts do attest that the two very much maintained their composure and helped keep order during the sinking. The portrayal is even-keeled and respectful towards these men. Director Roy Ward Baker and writer Eric Ambler, basing his script on Walter Lord's book, took great lengths to listen to eyewitness accounts and accurately recreate how the men and women who didn't survive lived their final moments on the Titanic. For example, this scene.
Mr. Guggenheim, your lifeboat. It was uncomfortable. We have dressed now in our best and are prepared to go down like gentlemen.
That is so, sir.
But
Surely-
if anything should happen to me, I would like my wife to know that I behaved decently.
That being said, not everyone gets exonerated. Here, J. Bruce Ismay, the president of White Star Line, commits an act that will hound him for the rest of his life.
Is there no one else?
Lower away. Avast, lowered. Lower away.
Also unflattering is the portrayal of the Californian. One aspect of the disaster that is often forgotten is how easily all of the 2,000 plus passengers could have been rescued. Another ship, the Californian, was a mere 10 miles away and not only saw the rockets the Titanic fired, but heard their distress calls over the telegram. But alas, no action was taken.
What is it?
That big steamer, sir. She's firing rockets. 6 up to now.
Or perhaps they're company signals of some kind. Call her up with a Morse lamp and ask her.
Aye, aye, sir.
The captain thinks she must be signaling to another ship about the ice.
Looks a bit queer, doesn't she?
I'll try signaling her again.
As if she's listing.
That's because of the angle she's had to us.
I cannot even begin to imagine just how different maritime history would have been had the Californian acted differently that night.
God help you.
The commitment to recreating the disaster goes beyond accurate character portrayals. Several Titanic survivors, such as 4th Officer Joseph Boxhall and passenger Lawrence Beasley, were brought on as technical advisors to maintain accuracy. Many of the sets were constructed on large winches so they could be tilted during the sinking. Even more impressive, the script for the film marked how many degrees each set was supposed to be tilted as the sinking progressed. Again, I cannot emphasize enough just how good the attention to detail is here. When it comes to the broader shots, this is admittedly where the effects fall short. Obviously, that's a model ship in a pool. However, when we consider that this was shot in 1957 and 1958, such effects are forgivable. In fact, between the effects and the terrific production design, I'd say this film is a perfect example of maximizing your resources. One thing that I will point out, though, is that the Titanic sinks in one piece in this film. Eyewitness accounts were divided after the sinking, with some saying the ship had split, but many saying it hadn't. For 73 years, the latter view became the dominant theory. It was not until Dr. Robert Ballard discovered the wreck in 1985 that we had visual confirmation the Titanic had split in two during the sinking. You'll have to keep that in mind watching this 1958 feature. Returning to the character portrayals, how is the acting in the film? Well, for the most part, this isn't really an actor's picture. Given how we're switching perspectives, each cast member is asked to do their part, and that's sufficient. That being said, there are some moving moments, such as this.
Now, you be good girls and look after your mother.
Yes.
There we are. Huh. Goodbye, my dear son.
Come on, son.
However, there are a couple of parts that play out, how shall I say it, with 1950s histrionics. I don't know, that feels more Hollywood than genuine. Still, most scenes are very well acted.
Get in the boat. Yes, Mrs. Krause, you must.
I've always stayed with my husband, Colonel, so why should I leave him now?
Please, be sensible.
We have been living together for many years, Isabel. Where you go, I go.
The editing of this film also doesn't draw a lot of attention to itself. Since the pacing has a real-time feel to it, the editing appropriately fits. As for the cinematography, I can't exactly explain why, but black and white just seems to fit the Titanic disaster better than color. There's something about it that seems to better emphasize the dark, cold, lonely night and the isolation of the passengers. This is especially true in the build-up to the disaster and after the sinking. I wish I could better explain my feelings on this, but for whatever reason, the best way to show the Titanic disaster is through black and white. My final verdict on A Night to Remember? This is one of the most unique disaster films you will find. It plays very close to the facts, making it as accurate of a portrayal as we will ever see on what happened when the Titanic sank. This really is a portrait of a disaster. I loved the attention to detail. I was enthralled at seeing so many stories come to life, and I was moved by the respect shown to the people involved, both the survivors and those who passed away. I commend director Roy Ward Baker on such a grand undertaking, and I say A Night to Remember is a film to remember.
But this is different.
Because we hit an iceberg?
No. Because we were so sure.
So what did you think of A Night to Remember? Go ahead and leave a comment. While you're at it, is there a movie you think deserves a second look? Subscribe to Whideo Reviews. Thanks for watching this installment of Second Look. My name is Whitaker Martin. I'll see you next time.